This week, the Desautels Chamber Opera Group presents Nico Muhly's Dark Sisters. Premiering in 2018, the opera is the first by the popular and prolific American composer, telling the daring, distressing, and dramatic story of one woman's dangerous attempt to escape her life as a member of the FLDS church. Set for chamber orchestra and solo voices, two performers have joined me in studio this morning, sopranos Sonia Campbell and Melanie Dupuis. Welcome to the Classic 107 studio. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We're going to scooch these microphones a little bit closer to you both. I'm wondering if we can begin by chatting a little bit more about the opera itself. Can you tell us about the story of Dark Sisters, Sonia?
For sure. So this story is based off of a lot of known stories of the FLDS, or the Fundamentalist Mormon church sects. So with this story, it's a collection of 5 wives that are all married to the prophet, and we are all experiencing the hardship of our children having been just taken away from us. And so it's all about how we, deal with that grief and try to find community with one another while also being in competition for one another. That's a big theme in the opera as well.
Yeah, all about the Fundamentalist Latter Day Saints church,
Yes.
as you say, that sect that split from mainstream Mormonism in the 20th century. Nico Muhly points out that this work started in 2008. That came shortly after a government raid on a Texas ranch, which listeners may recall. And it is a production that comes with some warnings. This referral to apprehension of children by authorities, characters looking to death and the afterlife, allusions to domestic violence, community shunning, and religious and spiritual abuse or trauma. I'd imagine preparing this opera was quite a challenge emotionally, Melanie. There's a lot to dive into here. Can you tell us a little bit more about your character, who is Presendia?
Yeah, so my character is Presendia. I'm the third wife of the prophet. And a lot of the research for this role came into reading about the FLDS. There's a lot of really great content out there, and some interviews from Nico Muhly about the things that he read and he saw to write this opera. And for me, the more I delved into the music, the more I found my character. Each wife has their own motivation, and for me, my character has a lot of jealousy. And I have a big argument with one of the other wives since we're in competition for our husband's attention. And I also have issues with one of the other wives, who is my biological sister, who is having a lot of struggles mentally, and my own issues with her being my older sister, but me having to take care of her in a way. So it's finding these little elements to try and piece together a full person. They're all the wives are unique human beings.
And what about for you, Sonia? What's it been like diving into your character and getting to know them?
For sure. So my character is Almera. I am the 4th wife of the prophet. And one thing that was really informative with Almera is I very rarely talk about my children throughout the course of the opera. There are a couple group scenes in which, we're referring to them by name, but beyond that, it takes a lot of effort from other people to prompt me to speak about any of my children, which was very informative just to understand the pain that, as someone who does not have children, to understand the kind of pain that someone would have with having a child that is then taken away, or in my case, 5 children that have all been taken away. Another thing that was very informative to me is I'm the 4th wife, and then Eliza, who is the protagonist of the story, she is the 5th wife. And we have this one really lovely scene where you get to see the close relationships that these wives have with one another beyond just the competition. You can see how Eliza and I are friends, and how the relationship changes throughout the opera as Eliza moves through her journey.
I think it's important to point out also that these aren't real individuals, but they are, as you say, Melanie, characters that are inspired by real events. Nico Muhly talked about how he started, after this 2008 raid, started reading more about the FLDS and these sort of I escaped type biographies that exist and incorporated that into the work. Now, I'm curious about the music itself. Nico Muhly, a contemporary writer, who would like to tackle this one? How would you characterize Nico Muhly and his writing in this, his first real operatic foray?
We can tag team a little
bit.
Yeah, go for it. Riff off each other. Yeah.
So for me, Nico Muhly has, and he talks about this in interviews, he has a lot of background in choral music. And so you see a lot of that. There are a couple real-life hymns and one FLDS hymn that is used in the opera itself, and a lot of melodies that are hymn-like. So there's a lot of these simple melodies that you'll see layered onto each other. And Sonia and I were talking about this recently where often when the wives are having similar experiences, they'll have similar texts with all of these different melodies layered on top of each other. So you kind of get this large wash of sound with all of these individual voices coming out.
And the fact that they're using the same text while singing these different lines, beyond just being, good composing text, I also feel reflects how all of these wives are different people but are having to subscribe to the same thing. One other thing about Muhly's composition is I find him to be quite a motivic composer. Like, I have my Almera do-do-do-do-do, and anytime it shows up in the opera, I'm like, that's me, I'm here.
Yeah, there's like ba-na-na-na-na, which is Ruth's theme, which my character sings at one point when I talk. Ruth is my sister, and when I talk about her and my feelings toward her, I sing that theme. Lucinda, who is Eliza, the protagonist's daughter, has a childlike lullaby melody that comes through with other characters when they're talking about her. So you get all of these bits that come back, and despite it being new music and dissonant and really layered at times, there's a lot of earworms, surprisingly, in this opera.
Interesting you say sort of motivically driven, having that individuality of each of your characters within them, especially when they come together motivically, but it still sings well, right? Because like it can be instrumentally motivic driven, but as you say, with Nico Muhly and his choral background, from everything I've heard, he writes well for the voice. Like, it's nice to sing to. Is a pretty big thing. You're going to be performing alongside a chamber orchestra, and one of the unique things about the Desautels Chamber Opera Group is that not only do you get to present a full-length, unlike the Opera Theatre Ensemble that does kind of smaller scenes, you actually get to perform it alongside an orchestra too, which is pretty exciting. Can we talk more about what that experience has been like? Have you had orchestra rehearsals yet, and the stagings and how that's come together?
Definitely. So we have had orchestra rehearsals, and one thing that I have found really beneficial, because it's a contemporary work, there are no recordings beyond a couple snippets that are online. We have had a lot of extra, what I would consider to be extra rehearsals with the orchestra. We haven't just, had a Sitzprobe and then, gone into our dress rehearsal. We've been able to really kind of work the music with them so we can how things fit together, because things like it's really... One of the challenges of this piece we have talked about a fair bit is that you never know where the downbeat is in any given moment.
That's unnerving. Yeah.
There's a lot of stop and start as well. The orchestra is very, very bare at times, so as a singer who's used to singing, Mozart and Handel, it's a completely different experience. The first thing we sing together as a group is this, again, we all have our own different melodies that layer on top of each other with no orchestra underneath. And so there's a lot of these moments where it's just us and then the orchestra comes in. So fitting that together with these extra rehearsals has been really, really great. So you can get a feeling of, okay, this is what it sounds like, and I'm really naked here, and it's just me and my voice.
Certainly some challenging singing. You're both master's students. Just before I let you go, can you tell us a little bit about how you came to Winnipeg? Melanie, you're not really from here. You're working in your second year of your master's.
I'm originally from Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I did my undergrad in New Brunswick. I ended up working with Tracy Dahl a little bit in undergrad, and so decided to audition for the University of Manitoba because I really enjoyed working with her. And now I'm here. Yeah, and it's been a really wonderful experience, and it's my first time living outside of New Brunswick.
Oh, well, glad to have you. And what about you, Sonia?
So I'm originally from Edmonton, Alberta. I did my undergrad at the University of Alberta studying with John Tessier and Miriam Khalil, and then the head vocal coach there, Shannon Hebert, she's originally from Winnipeg and just spoke so highly of both Tracy Dahl and Monica Huseman. And I got to work with them a little bit for during one summer program, and yeah, decided that this would be a good place to go to.
Well, thrilled that you're both here and the opportunity to perform in a full opera. This, Nico Muhly's Dark Sisters, opens on Thursday with a second performance on Friday. Both shows take place at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are just $20. For students, $12. They take place at the Vocal Arts Room in the Taché Arts Complex at the U of M. We've got all the details up at classic107.com. Sonia, Melanie, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much.